Ordinary training means finding ways to make your ordinary extraordinary. The 100 days, this is day 100 for me. So here I am, and I thought maybe instead of just training and stuff video today, I might help out a little bit more, because like, what do you do when you're done? So the way that I time or change my training is with the seasons, and I got that from my Kung Fu brother Kevin, and it's really interesting because it's not common that you use the 5 elements in this way, so I thought I'd share it with you. Everybody normally sees a diagram that looks something like this, right? And you have the 5 Chinese elements, right? And you got wood, fire, water, blah, blah, blah. Okay. And this is, of course, the creationist cycle, right? The one that endows the other, and then the one that controls the other, blah, blah, blah. Don't even think about that. Okay. So this is actually the more commonly used, or rather understood way of the 5 elements when it comes to things like the seasons. Okay, so the 5 elements. Wow, fire pit's making noise. Five elements. I guess fire is one of them, right? So let's put him there. We've got fire, which engenders earth. Okay, and the earth, of course, creates metal. Metal creates water, and water creates wood. So in this diagram, Earth is in the center. Okay, so rather than seeing this controlled destruction type thing, you see a seasonal diagram. So now each of the seasons fits one of these things, right? So like, for instance, fire, I mean, obviously, what's the hottest part of the year, right? Fire is your summertime. And then it goes on and on and on. Fall is metal, because metal is condensation. It's things starting to slow down. It's kind of how it's density. So from summer, really hot, really awesome, and then things start to cool down. Just look at the world, right? It's that metal time of year. Metal time of year. Not that kind of metal, but also that kind of metal. So then fall will become winter, okay? And winter is slow moving. So think about water here like a deep, slow moving river, or frozen river even, okay? And then, of course, spring is growth again. Spring, winter. Okay, so now here's the key. Those are the 4 seasons. What does this have to do with any of it, right? So Earth represents evenness throughout. That's the way Kev put it. Kev, pardon me, Professor Kevin Walbert. But that's the way he put it. And that totally makes sense. It's like equal density. And it's like the world, right? The whole world is sort of existing, and these things exist in the world. Now, this, in a seasonal diagram, are these pieces in between seasons. Okay, these 5 pieces. So this is like when it's, well, I mean, Canada, it's sort of spring, right? So what's happening here is that it's kind of spring and it's kind of nice, but you know what? It's turning around and freezing anyway, right? You can't trust the weather yet. It's not quite really springtime. That's an earth time of year, right? So it's those transitional points in between the seasons. So why am I rambling about all of this? Well, because that is how I train my 100 days. Every year, I train 100 days for each season. I mean, obviously, there's 365 in a year, etc., etc. But I'll try to mimic what is going on. So in the winter, I do Lohan. I do slow-moving things, Tai Chi. In the spring, I do things that have to do with stretching. Let's put it that way. I usually do the Yi Jing Jing. In summer, that's the time to go for it. Train everything. Go hard. Your body's loose and supple, and you feel good. And in the fall, it's time for condensation and slowing back down. It's heavy hands time, iron palm stuff. So these earth times are transition periods. In these seasons, these are rest seasons. So if you were to divide the year into 5 parts, you would end up with these pie pieces of a few days to rest and recuperate and recover from whatever craziness you've been doing the last 100 days. Hopefully that makes some sense. So what am I going to do? I'm going to take a break. and I'm gonna rest and recuperate because I have to go to Chicago soon and do workshops, and that's always like a ton of practice and a ton of work. Middle of May. So, and then I'm gonna start my next 100 days. This is just how I do things, and I think I'm gonna document a lot more of it because I'm getting some really cool questions, and I want to help people. That's why I do this. It's because I want to help people. I'd rather do that than slave myself to a 9 to 5. And this is what I know. So this is what I share. All right. So that's that. Now, in those earth times of year, what do I practice? Do I turn into a puddle on the couch? No, because that sucks. Because you have to get off the couch, and that sucks a lot. These earth times of year are when I do what I call ordinary training. And ordinary training is stuff like, how do I stand in the line at the bank? Or like at the bank, nobody goes to the bank anymore. Standing in line at a grocery store or something. Am I standing tall like the monkey? When I'm walking and, nobody's watching me, maybe I'll practice bog wall walking instead. When I sit down and stand up, do I have to use my hands? I shouldn't have to use my hands. I'm not an old man. I mean, it's things like that. I mean, and truthfully, most of the really freaky weirdos that I know, there's training every time they open a door, right? You can open a door by pulling with your dantian, turning the knob with dantian. I mean, if dantian can move any part of your body, then it can move any part of your body. How do you wash dishes? Stand. How do you do shun training? Well, that ordinary mind is everything, right? That's about how you live your life. That's every single day. That's the stuff that really matters, right? That's why Kung Fu masters were always so intense about picking moral students. Ordinary training means finding ways to make your ordinary extraordinary. If you can do that, you can literally log hours and hours and hours of practice time. Nobody will even see it. But you're still going to do your 100 days.